Have you ever wondered what really happens when your heart stops beating? I'm not talking about the theories or religious answers we've heard since we were kids. I mean what actually happens the moment your soul leaves your body. This isn't a belief or a metaphor or a vision. This is something real, a real place. And what if I told you, I've been there, that I crossed through the deepest darkness, heard screams that no song on earth could ever drown out, and saw with my own eyes what it means to be completely cut off from the light of God. This is my story, and what you're about to hear might shock you or hit you in a way you weren't ready for. But stay with me, because what I went through wasn't just a nightmare. It was a wake-up call, a cry for mercy, a truth that needed to be told, and maybe, just maybe, it reached you today for a reason you don't even realize yet. My name is Lukey, and for a long time I thought I was untouchable. I was a model. I had fame, money, international travel, million-dollar campaigns. I was always surrounded by lights, applause, and VIP parties where the word no didn't exist for me. To the world, I was winning, handsome, successful, admired. But inside, a frozen desert, a hollow emptiness that no five-star hotel or red carpet could ever warm up. I smiled for the cameras, but cried in silence. Lived in airports, but had no idea where I actually belonged. Every snapshot caught the perfect pose, while my soul was falling apart off stage. My story didn't start on the runway. I grew up in a broken home. My dad, always gone, physically and emotionally. He'd miss birthdays for meetings and swap conversations for yelling. My mom did what she could, but she was emotionally shattered, trying to keep it together while swallowing her own pain. As a kid, I used to hide in the hallway closet and cry quietly whenever they fought. I'd whisper to myself, "One day I'll get out of here. One day I won't be invisible." And that day came, but in a twisted way. Being noticed became my addiction. I wanted to be seen, wanted, celebrated, and but it came at a price. I fed off vanity, literally fed on other people's approval. Every compliment was like a painkiller for the wounded little boy still inside me. I drowned myself in pleasure. Sex outside of marriage, recreational drugs, wild nights that started with laughter and ended with a kind of filth no shower could clean off. I thought I was free, but I was a slave to my own image. I used to spend hours in front of the mirror, obsessing over every feature on my face, my body, like my whole worth depended on it. I'd post provocative photos just to feel that ego boost from the comments. I used people. I manipulated feelings. I betrayed friendships, all in the name of chasing a happiness that never showed up. The hole inside me just kept getting deeper, no matter how much fame, money, or pleasure I tried to stuff into it. You know that feeling of being surrounded by people but still feeling totally alone? When everyone sees you, but no one really sees you. That's where I lived. At the height of attention, completely invisible to myself. There's one night I'll never forget. I was in a penthouse suite in Dubai after a runway show. It was luxury everywhere. French champagne, an infinity pool, beautiful people all around. But that night, alone in my room, I looked out the window and asked myself, if I vanished right now, would anyone even notice? And the silence that followed gave me my answer. That's when I started to realize that behind all the glamour, I was sinking, and even then I kept going. I kept smiling for the photos while my soul was bleeding behind the scenes. I mocked anything spiritual, made fun of people who talked about hell, the Bible, God, thought it was all just for the weak and gullible. But the truth? I was the one being played. I became arrogant, cold, and hard. I turned my back on everything I once believed. Stuff I learned as a kid, when my grandma used to sneak me off to church. She'd say, "Son, take care of your soul. This world is flashy, but it's fake." I'd laugh, say she was old-fashioned. But now I know she was trying to save me from the pit I was digging with every bad decision I made. It all built up, like every wrong choice was one more brick in the tomb I was building for myself. Shiny on the outside, rotting on the inside. And what I didn't realize was that the spiritual bill always comes due. And when it did, it didn't come with a bang. It came with silence. A silence that screamed, And the fall, that was just the beginning. Until one night, everything changed. Crash. One split second of distraction, and suddenly, I was out of my body. It felt strange, like I had lost the weight of the physical, but gained the unbearable weight of awareness. And what came next is almost impossible to put into words. I started falling, and it wasn't just a fall, it was a descent that felt endless. The deeper I went, the darker it got, heavier, more suffocating. And then I heard it, the screams, the voices, the crying, the pure panic. Here's the hidden truth no one wants to talk about. Hell is real, and it's not a metaphor. It's not symbolic. It's not religious overreaction. It's a place of pain, of isolation, of eternal regret. And the most terrifying part? Everyone there knows exactly why they're there. No confusion, no defense, no excuses. The weight of your choices, your words, the things you ignored in life, they hit you like a wave. I saw the reflection of my own life, my vanity, my pride, my arrogance, every dismissive glare, every lie I told to protect myself, every time I put my image above what was right. It all played out in front of me with a painful, brutal clarity. Have you ever had that moment when the truth hits so hard? There's no going back? That was me right there in the pit of that place. No more masks, no likes, no followers, no fame. Just me face to face with the raw, brutal reality of my soul. And then, something happened. In the middle of that unbearable darkness, a presence appeared. A light, a force, a love I had never felt before. And that's when everything started to change. I want to go even deeper now, because right there, surrounded by terror, something pierced through the fear. It wasn't a voice I could hear with my ears, but it was real. A presence that was alive, powerful, and full of something I had never understood until that moment. Mercy. Not mercy because I deserved it, but because there was still a purpose. There was still a chance. And that shattered me inside. You know, that painful, liberating kind of moment when you suddenly realize you've spent your whole life looking for meaning in all the wrong places? That was me. Broken, seen, loved. And that's why I'm here today. To open my heart and speak this truth, no matter how raw or uncomfortable it might be. Because if my story wakes up even one person before it's too late, then every second of that pain was worth it. And hey, if any part of this hits home for you, if something in my words stirred something in your heart, drop a comment below. Can be one word, a sentence, a feeling. Sometimes just getting it out is the first step to something new beginning inside. And reading your words strengthens me too. We're walking this journey together. And if the story moved you, if it made you think or feel something real, hit the like button. Not just for me, but to help this message reach others who might be just as lost as I once was. And if you want to hear more real stories like this, subscribe to the channel. Because what's coming next, it's deep, it's honest, and it might change something inside you. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to share what I've lived. And if that echoes somewhere in you, maybe it means you're part of this purpose too. Now, let me tell you what happened when I woke up back in my body. When I opened my eyes in that hospital room, it wasn't just my body coming back to life. It was like my soul was returning too, only it wasn't the same. You know when you wake up from a nightmare so real, you can't tell what's dream and what's reality? That was me. Except my nightmare had been real. So real that the smell, the screams, the weight of that darkness still clung to me like smoke on skin. I blinked, saw the white ceiling, heard the monitors beeping, and started crying. But it wasn't just fear. It was regret, a mix of relief and shame. How was someone like me still here? Before any of this, my life looked perfect on the outside. Good looks, social status, parties, followers. I lived in a loop of temporary pleasures, numbing a deep void I didn't want to admit was there. My mindset was simple. If it feels good now, it must be right. But that good? It was a lie. I drowned in addictions, toxic relationships, decisions that were slowly destroying who I was on the inside. There were signs, so many, but I kept ignoring them. The heart hardens, like your soul puts on noise-canceling headphones to block out the warnings. But the warnings came anyway. Sleepless nights, panic attacks, a nameless sadness that would hit me out of nowhere, right in the middle of a day that looked fine on the outside. It was like truth was always trying to surface, but I kept burying it. With more parties, more distractions, more sin, until my body gave out. It was sudden, total collapse, cardiac arrest, no warning, and then silence, not peace, absence, the absence of everything that makes you feel human. I saw myself outside my body, felt like I was being pulled down by some invisible force, and the deeper I sank, the heavier everything became. It was a kind of oppression I can't explain in human language. Like my own conscience was screaming, but I had no mouth. I was afraid, but even more than that, I was ashamed. It felt like every mask I ever wore had been ripped away, and I stood there, naked in front of eternity. And in that place, time doesn't move like it does here. Every second felt like forever, pain without pause, an endless moment where nothing changed, but everything hurt. It was as if even time itself had been swallowed by the void. But this wasn't just empty space. It was alive. A darkness so thick it had weight, like it had hands. It didn't just lack light, it lacked God. This was a conscious darkness. It knew me, watched me, and it fed on my pain. It was a living, breathing abyss, where cold cut through the soul and guilt burned hotter than any fire. I felt others around me, twisted beings. They were once human. Now, they were crawling, groaning, broken under the weight of their own choices. Some tried to scream, but no sound came. Others whispered the names of loved ones they'd lost forever. But what haunted me most were the voices. They knew my name. They said it with hatred, like they'd known me all my life. Ripped, distorted voices, laughing, mocking me, bringing up every lie I told, every betrayal, every dark thought I'd ever hidden. It wasn't just punishment, it was revelation. Every torment had a reason, a root in my own story. That place forced me to relive everything I had buried, even from myself. I saw people walking in endless circles, every step heavier than the last. A woman screamed at her own reflection as it decayed before her eyes, forced to repeat, forever, the same judgments she had once spoken about others. A man wept blood, holding burning money that turned to ash in his hands, and with every flake, he screamed for something he could never buy, peace. Every agony was personal. Hell wasn't random. It was tailor-made, like it reflected what each soul had chosen to become. Just like it says in Romans 6 verse 23, the wages of sin is death. But in that place, that death was alive, and it breathed right beside me. The worst part? I understood that it wasn't unfair. It wasn't a punishment from some cruel judge. It was the natural result, the consequence. I was living the direct outcome of what I had chosen, fed, and justified in life. As Romans 14 verse 12 says, each of us will give an account of ourselves to God. And in that cave of lost souls, there was no one left to blame. The most terrifying judgment is the truth, the unfiltered, undeniable, unstoppable truth. No excuses, no masks, no escape. It was like being exposed to myself. Every hidden rot of my soul laid bare. As Matthew 8 verse 12 says, they will be thrown into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And I heard it, the gnashing, like stone on stone, nails clawing at the walls of the abyss. There was no rest, the mind spinning through painful memories, each one a sentence, each decision on earth a door I had locked from the inside. No one condemned me. I saw myself for what I truly was, and there was no pretending anymore, because when the truth comes for you, it doesn't knock, swallows you whole. Now I understand what Jesus meant in Mark 9 verse 44 when he spoke of hell as, where their worm does not die, and the fire is not quenched. There, the worm is your conscience, alive, restless, desperate for redemption, but with no access to grace. And the fire, it burns inside the soul, A fire with no cure because the only source of relief was rejected. That's the reality many people ignore. A truth buried under distraction, pride, and the illusion of control. But one day, sooner or later, it reveals itself. But then, at the height of my despair, when every part of me had surrendered to the end, something changed. It wasn't a bright light like the stories we usually hear. It was presence. A living presence, powerful yet gentle. An authority that didn't need to raise its voice to silence everything around. It felt like even hell itself bowed before him. I didn't see him with my eyes, but my spirit recognized him. It was Jesus, and I had no doubt. It was as if my soul had been seized by an ancient, deep, undeniable recognition. I just knew the one before me was the very author of life. And even with all I'd done, everything I failed to do, even filthy and broken inside, I was touched by mercy. He didn't need to say a word. There was no speech, just the fact that he was there. Standing in front of me, seeing me completely, and still not turning away, said everything. His presence cut through the darkness. Not like a flashlight, but like someone who commands order. Like someone who holds the keys to time and eternity. That's when I understood. Grace is not an excuse to keep sinning. It's a wide open door to transformation. It's the chance to walk out of your inner prison, to finally see. It's the deepest revelation of love and justice. Justice that doesn't destroy, but restores what still can be saved. He's the one who gave me my life back, but not the same life. I didn't return to repeat the same steps. I came back with a mission, and from that moment on, everything changed. The world didn't seem so attractive anymore. Fame, which once fed my ego, now only reminded me of how much vanity pulled me away from the truth. Money completely lost its meaning. I saw the numbers and contracts, but felt the emptiness of someone who had traded his soul for applause. The desires that once ruled me just lost their grip. It was like they were replaced by a burning urgency, to live with purpose, to warn, to reveal. That's when the rebuilding began. And rebuilding hurts. It's not magical. It's not instant. It's looking at yourself in the mirror every day and choosing to become someone new. It's rewiring your mindset. It's reevaluating every decision like someone who now knows the weight of each choice. I started avoiding the environments that fueled my downfall. I cut ties that dragged me back down. I went after the people I had hurt. I asked for forgiveness, even knowing some wounds I couldn't undo. And most of all, I started to share, because I realized my experience wasn't just for me. It was for those like me who are at the edge, for those who think they've gone too far, for those who are falling and don't know what to hold on to. This story is for anyone who lives like they've got time, but deep down knows they're playing with fire, literally. I started using my voice not to promote myself, but to expose the spiritual reality behind this life that so many people refuse to see. And that's the biggest trap. Thinking the invisible doesn't affect the visible. Thinking the spiritual doesn't affect your emotions, your body, your choices, your daily life. But it does. It defines everything. Today, I carry scars you can't see, but they remind me daily of the mercy that reached me. And every time someone doubts hell, I remember, doubt used to feed me too, and it kept me blind for so long. But now I know, denying hell doesn't make it any less real. Playing with sin doesn't erase the consequences. As it says in Hebrews 10 verse 31, it is a dreadful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. That's not a threat. It's a warning, a calling. It's love disguised as a wake-up call. I'm not sharing this to scare you. I'm sharing this to wake you up, because the hell I saw wasn't a metaphor. It was real, with real people, with real stories. Stories that began here with small compromises, justified choices, silent omissions. And each one laid the foundation for an eternity without God. That's why today I plead, listen while there's still time, because the line between this life and the next is thin. And eternity doesn't accept excuses. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic, because there's something almost no one talks about when it comes to these kinds of experiences. There's a reason why some people come back, and others don't. And that reason has more to do with you than you might think. Drop a comment saying, I'm on this journey too. I want to know who's walking this truth with me. And if you made it this far, listening with an open heart, truly seeking answers, all I can say is thank you. It's for people like you that this content exists, so we can recognize ourselves in each other's stories, grow together, and above all, wake up. If this message hit something deep inside, if any part of this made sense to you, leave a comment saying, this message was for me. It shows me I'm not alone in this mission, and that it's worth continuing to bring out these truths that often stay hidden in the shadows of the soul. Oh, and if you feel like being part of this more closely, subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss what's coming next, and you'll help this message reach more people. People who might be living what I lived, or worse, don't even know they're falling. And of course, drop a like too. It's not just a button. It's your way of saying, I'm here. This matters to me. There's a video right here that connects deeply with this one, and it might open your eyes even more. Click and keep going with me. The journey's just getting started.